Hi there, and welcome. Before we start today's story, I want to remind you of something important. Even if you don't understand every word, that's okay. Just keep listening. Your brain is learning little by little. Listening to English stories is one of the best ways to improve your English. You hear natural sentences, new words, and real emotions. So relax, enjoy the story, and remember, the more you listen, the more confident you will become. Are you ready? Let's begin. Part 1. The smell of something new. Every morning, Emma walked down Maple Street on her way to work. It was a quiet street with small shops, green trees, and friendly faces. She had walked the same way for 5 years. She knew every corner, every window, every sound. But one morning in early spring, something was different. A new smell floated in the air, warm, sweet, like fresh bread and vanilla. Emma stopped and looked around. The building next to the flower shop had been empty for months. Now the windows were clean, the door was painted bright yellow, and a small sign said, "The bakery next door, opening soon." Emma smiled. She loved bakeries. She loved the smell of fresh bread, the sound of quiet music, and the feeling of comfort they gave. She decided she would stop by on the first day it opened. Part 2. A friendly start. A few days later, the bakery opened its doors. Emma arrived early. The bell above the door rang as she stepped inside. The air was full of cinnamon, sugar, and coffee. Behind the counter stood a young man with flour on his apron and a kind smile. "Good morning," he said. "Welcome to the bakery next door. I'm Lucas." Emma smiled. "Hi, I'm Emma. I live nearby." The smell pulled me in. Lucas laughed. "That's exactly what I hoped for." She looked at the shelves, croissants, muffins, cookies, and a perfect-looking loaf of sourdough bread. "I'll try the blueberry muffin, please." He handed it to her with a warm smile. First customer gets it for free. From that moment, Emma became a regular. Every morning, she stopped by for a muffin or a coffee. And every morning, Lucas was there with a new treat and a cheerful "Good morning, Emma." Part 3. Little conversations. As the days passed, their short conversations grew longer. They talked about favorite foods, books, and music. Emma learned that Lucas had moved from a big city to follow his dream of owning a bakery. Lucas learned that Emma worked at a bookstore downtown and had a cat named Oliver. "Do you ever bake at home?" Lucas asked one morning. Emma laughed. "I tried once. I burned the cookies and set off the fire alarm." Lucas grinned. "Then you need baking lessons." She raised an eyebrow. "Are you offering?" He handed her a paper bag with a croissant inside. "Maybe I am." Part 4. Rainy days and hot cocoa. One rainy afternoon, Emma walked by the bakery after work. It was almost closing time, but the lights were still on. She stepped inside, wet from the rain. "You look cold," Lucas said. "Sit down. I'll make hot cocoa." Emma sat near the window as Lucas brought 2 mugs of cocoa and a plate of cookies. They sat quietly, listening to the rain. "It's peaceful here," Emma said. Lucas nodded. "It's my favorite kind of evening." After a pause, he asked, "Emma, would you ever leave the city?" She looked surprised. "I don't know. I've never thought about it. Why?" He looked down at his mug, just wondering. "I moved here to slow down. I like slow things now." Emma smiled. "Me too." Part 5. The community grows. The bakery quickly became the heart of the neighborhood. People stopped in for their morning coffee, chatted over pastries, and brought their children for cookies. Lucas started baking Sundays where kids could decorate cupcakes. Emma helped with reading corner events, where she brought books from her store and read stories to the kids. One Sunday, Emma arrived early to help. She wore an apron Lucas had given her. It had tiny books and cupcakes printed on it. "You look like a real baker today," he said. She blushed. "Just don't ask me to use the oven." He laughed. "Deal." They worked side by side, laughing, talking, and sharing stories. At the end of the day, as they cleaned up, Lucas looked at Emma and said, "This bakery is better with you in it." Part 6. A Birthday Surprise. One Saturday morning, Emma walked into the bakery, and the lights were dimmed. A group of people jumped out and shouted, "Happy birthday, Emma!" She was shocked. Lucas came out holding a cake with candles. "Surprise, I hope you like chocolate." Emma laughed, touched by the kindness. "How did you know?" Lucas shrugged. "I listen." She looked around. Her co-workers, neighbors, and even a few kids were there. It wasn't a big party, but it was perfect. Later, as they stood outside with leftover cake, Lucas said, "This place feels like family." Emma nodded. "It really does." Part 7. The Confession. One Friday morning, Emma arrived at the bakery to find a note on the door, "Closed today for a special delivery." She frowned, disappointed, and walked to work. That evening, she returned and saw Lucas sitting on the front steps. "Sorry I missed you," he said. She sat beside him. "What was the special delivery?" He looked at her and took a deep breath. "I went to pick up something important." From behind his back, he pulled out a small box. Inside was a notebook with her name on it. "I wrote down every recipe you've liked, every coffee you've ordered, every story you've told. Because I wanted to remember all of it. Because I think I'm falling in love with you." Emma blinked, speechless. Lucas added softly, "No pressure. I just needed to tell you." Emma smiled and opened the notebook. Inside was a small note. "Let's bake something together, forever." Part 8. A Future in Flour and Books. Emma said yes. From that moment on, they became more than just neighbors or friends. They were partners in baking, in community, and in life. They hosted book and bake nights where Emma read stories and Lucas baked treats to match the theme. Children, adults, and even tourists loved it. Eventually, Emma moved in above the bakery. Oliver the cat loved it too, especially the smell of fish croissants Lucas sometimes made just for him. On quiet evenings, they sat by the window, sipping cocoa, dreaming of their next ideas. One day, Lucas said, "What if we write a book? A bakery storybook with your words and my recipes." Emma smiled, a perfect blend. And so, from a simple morning muffin to a life full of stories and sweetness, Emma and Lucas proved that sometimes the best love stories start right next door. The end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Write in the comments, what would you order at the bakery next door? New stories come every week, so stay tuned and keep practicing your English with me.